At this point, I believe he is beyond assistance, and he is in that perimeter, and we will actively hunt until we find him.
Those are the words from police today as the manhunt continues for an escaped murderer who is now said to be armed. Plus, next year's race for governor is shaping up here in the first state, and Delaware gun safety laws are upheld for the third consecutive time. Those stories and much more straight ahead tonight on DETV News. Good evening and welcome to DETV News. I'm Matt Ford. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. Making headlines today, the search for escaped murderer Danilo Cavalcanti intensified Tuesday after the fugitive stole a rifle during a confrontation and shootout with a homeowner on Countryville Road overnight Monday in South Coventry Township. This morning, Pennsylvania State Police said that they have established about a 3-mile perimeter in South Coventry Township to search for Cavalcanti, who escaped from Pennsylvania's Chester County Prison on August 31st. Cavalcanti was spotted around 8 p.m. Monday on the south side of Fairview Road by a woman driving in South Coventry Township. After tracking him, police found his prison shoes. Soon after, a resident called to say his work boots were stolen off of his porch. Police continued to track Cavalcanti headed north, and just after 10 p.m. last night, a call from a resident came in that's saying he had entered their garage while the homeowner was in it. And there, Cavalcanti grabbed a .22 rifle from the garage, meaning that he is now armed. Police have asked residents in the area to be vigilant, locking all doors and windows, securing vehicles, and staying indoors. The intensified search has prompted the Owen J. Roberts School District in northern Chester County to close all schools Tuesday. Route 100 from Fairview to Ridge Roads are closed to traffic, as is a large stretch of Route 23 west of Route 100. In related news, Longwood Gardens will reopen to visitors Wednesday after being closed for several days due to the intensive manhunt in the area. The popular attraction and gardens closed last Thursday. In a Facebook post, Longwood Gardens said it looks forward to welcoming back visitors starting 10 a.m. Wednesday. Now, there is no word on whether these recent developments we just told you about are going to keep the gardens closed longer. And closer to home, the 2024 race for Delaware governor took shape this morning when Lieutenant Governor Bethany Hall Long announced her bid for the job. The long-awaited announcement was held in the Delaware History Museum on Wilmington's Market Street. The former nurse has held public office for 2 decades and was elected lieutenant governor in 2016.
But I can tell you, I hope that when I am elected, that we can make sure Delaware is the best place for every child, every person, every family, every business to succeed and thrive.
Current Governor John Carney is nearing the end of his second term and by law cannot run for a third. Hall Long will face Newcastle County Executive Matt Meyer in the September 2024 primary. And a federal judge has denied yet another challenge to the Delaware gun safety law that allows gun dealers to be held accountable in court for violence that they create. This is Attorney General Kathy Jennings' third consecutive win over the gun lobby. Earlier this year, the same federal court ruled against a challenge to the assault weapons ban and large capacity magazine ban. Both laws do remain in effect. In an opinion released late last week, Judge Richard G. Andrews of the U.S. District Court for the District of Delaware dismissed a challenge by the National Shooting Sports Foundation to Delaware's Kershaw-Kiki Anderson Safe Firearms Sales Act. That act, sponsored by Senator Brian Townsend, was signed into law in 2022. It is named for Kiki Anderson, an innocent bystander who was killed in a 2016 shooting. The law repeals immunity granted to gun dealers, making Delaware the first state in the country to repeal the gun industry immunity shield. To Kent County now, Dover police say a woman was seriously hurt last Wednesday in a crash involving one of their police officers. She has later died. The wreck happened around 8 a.m. at South Little Creek Road and Signal Street. 59-year-old Lorene Miller of Dover was flown to Christiana Hospital in critical condition. Police said that she died from her injuries this past Sunday. Investigators said a car driven by Miller turned left in front of a patrol vehicle, resulting in what police say was an offset head-on collision. The officer involved, a 4-year veteran of the force, was treated for minor injuries but has been put on paid administrative leave pending an investigation, which is standard procedure in an incident where someone is killed and an officer is involved. And Delaware State Police are investigating the shooting death of a 26-year-old woman and wounding of a 41-year-old man in Laurel. This happened Sunday evening. Laurel police arrived at West 6th Street at about 9:30 at night to find the woman, who has not yet been identified, inside a car with gunshot wounds. She was pronounced dead at that scene. A Millsboro man was also shot. He was taken to a local hospital with injuries described as life-threatening. Now, according to state police, which has taken over the investigation, the shooting occurred at the entrance to Little Creek Apartments, and the victims drove to 6th Street. Police are asking anyone with information to call the number seen on your screen. And police are also asking for the public's help in finding 3 stolen dogs and the suspect responsible. Police say in Frankfort, Delaware, 3 American Bully dogs, seen here, were stolen from their owner's yard on Honolulu Road sometime Wednesday night. If you know where they are or who is responsible for their theft, please contact the Frankfort Police Department at 302-732-6244. And Wilmington children and families will be better protected from hazards of lead-based paint. That's all thanks to a $5 million grant announced yesterday by the state's congressional delegation. On Friday, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development unveiled a $157 million national program to lessen the dangers of poisons in public housing. Ray Fitzgerald, executive director of the Wilmington Housing Authority, said that the funds will increase his department's ability to identify and eliminate the toxic paint in the city's public housing. And organizers are getting ready for the annual Central Delaware Economic Summit. The event will take place on September 19th at the Del One Conference Center in Dover. This year's theme is AI in the Economy and Our Society. Keynote speaker James Collins, he's a Microsoft public sector leader for the Americas, will discuss artificial intelligence and other emerging technologies. The summit brings together leaders in business, government, education, and the community to discuss improving economic conditions in Central Delaware. The hybrid event will feature both in-person and virtual attendance options. Registration is $35 for in-person attendance, while virtual attendance is free, but it does require registration. For details, head to dtcc.edu/economic summit. If your criminal record is holding you back from finding a job and moving on with your life, you may want to attend an annual Expungement and Job Fair held at the William Hicks Anderson Community Center at 501 North Madison Street here in Wilmington. The event is organized by the Wilmington Alliance and will run from 1 to 6 p.m. Walk-ins are welcome, but organizers ask that you register if you're looking for your record to be cleared. For more information, visit wilmingtonalliance.org. And before we go, Wilmington's 7th annual HBCU Week kicks off this Sunday. More than 6,000 college admissions and $60 million in college scholarships have been granted to attendees since it launched in 2017. Wilmington Mayor Mike Przicki and ESPN's Stephen A. Smith, an HBCU ambassador, announced a number of events that will occur over the week, including a Battle of the Bands, concerts, a panel discussion, a comedy show, and a block party. The centerpiece of the week is the College Fair, to be attended by more than 25 historically black colleges and universities. High school students can meet with recruiters and corporate partners to receive on-site admission, scholarships, and internships. Definitely do not want to miss that. Hello and welcome to DETV News. Thanks so much for being with us tonight. I'm Matt Ford. Topping the news today, aided by a plane with thermal imaging, Pennsylvania police captured escaped murderer Danilo Cavalcante early this morning, ending a 2-week manhunt that had closed schools and put the area on edge. Cavalcante scaled the walls at Chester County Prison on August 31st. That's 1 week after he was sentenced to life for killing his ex-girlfriend. For 2 weeks, Cavalcanti evaded authorities as residents called in multiple sightings of the man police described as extremely dangerous. On Monday, he stole a rifle from a resident's garage after a confrontation with the homeowner. And on Wednesday morning, when the plane picked up Cavalcanti in a wooded area south of Coventry Township, tactical officers were on the ground and were able to surround him and move in quietly with dogs. The search involved hundreds of police officers, drones, and helicopters. The FBI and U.S. Border Control assisted in the manhunt. And Newcastle County Police are investigating a late morning shooting today near Middletown that did injure one man. Police responded to the 900 block of Lissy Casey Loop on reports of an assault with a weapon. Upon arrival, they found a 39-year-old male with a gunshot wound. He was treated at the scene by Newcastle County paramedics and transported to Christiana Hospital. His condition was not immediately known. Police are continuing to investigate, and they will release more information as it becomes available. And state police are looking for suspects in the attempted theft of an ATM. Investigators say 3 people used a stolen white Ford F-250 pickup truck to tow an ATM into the parking lot at the Polly Drummond Shopping Center early last Friday morning. The ATM and the pickup truck were abandoned. Troopers later found a green Ford F-250 pickup truck, which may have been connected to the attempted theft of this ATM. That vehicle was also reported stolen from the same neighborhood, where the other truck was also swiped. Anyone who has information and can help with the investigation or may have surveillance footage that can help, you're asked to contact Troop 2 Criminal Investigations Division at 302-365-8471, or you can contact Delaware Crime Stoppers. People in the area are asked to check their doorbell or property cameras for any suspicious activity between Thursday, September 7th at 10 p.m. to Friday, September 8th at around 5 a.m. In other news, Wilmington police are issuing a warning about a phone scam that involves a caller pretending to be from the police department. Here's what happens. The caller mentions a DNA test as well as a fine. The person who receives the call is sometimes told to pay a fine using a payment card or a gift card. Police said this is actually fraud, and the police would never demand payment or solicit money over the phone. Anyone who receives a call like this one is asked to contact police at 302-654-5151. You may also call this number to actually verify the authenticity of any call that claims to be from a police department. Moving on to news now in a lawsuit alleging racial discrimination within the Wilmington Police Department. A federal judge has dismissed a lawsuit filed by former Wilmington police officer Frey Coleman. Coleman accused the department of racial discrimination and improperly collecting data from seized cell phones. Coleman left the department in January during an investigation into statements she made about a 2007 murder. Detectives questioned her last September in a cold case. After accusing her of withholding information, they seized her cell phone with a warrant. Coleman claimed the department downloads full contents of seized cell phones for what are called phishing expeditions. She alleged the warrant for her phone was racially motivated. However, the judge ruled federal law does not allow her racial discrimination claim against a public entity over an employment contract. He also found no issues with the warrant were used to take her phone. The judge gave Coleman until the end of this month to amend her complaint with facts that support claims against individuals. To Sussex County now, where 3 people were rescued yesterday afternoon from a Laurel home that was set ablaze due to an accidental fire on the kitchen stove during cooking. The blaze was reportedly shortly after 3:30 p.m. on the 100 block of West 2nd Street. The 3-story house seen here was engulfed in flames when firefighters arrived and entered the burning building to pull out 3 women who were still inside the home. A 76-year-old woman was transported to the hospital with burns and smoke inhalation. She was later flown by helicopter to Crozier-Chester Medical Center up in Pennsylvania. A 71-year-old resident suffered serious smoke inhalation, and a 68-year-old female was being treated for burns as well as smoke inhalation. Now, as of this afternoon, 2 women remained hospitalized in serious condition. The state fire marshal's office estimated the house sustained $175,000 in damages. Claiming she has suffered through depression and not wanting to leave her home, a 2023 graduate of Sussex Central High School whose bare breast was exposed on surveillance tape has filed a lawsuit claiming that two school principals created a meme of the incident and shared it with school staff. When 18-year-old Anaya Harmon was pulled away from a verbal fight at school, her clothing was also pulled away, thus revealing her breast. The lawsuit complaint claims that Principal Bradley Layfield and Assistant Principal Matthew Jones used a screenshot of the tape to create a meme showing Harmon's breast with the head of Janet Jackson, who you may recall whose breast was famously exposed during a Super Bowl halftime performance. In a statement issued through his attorney, Thomas Newberger, Layfield has denied any hand in the creation or distribution of the meme. We're told that the video was shown to staff for student safety reasons and was recorded from a distance. Newberger told DETV the disrobing was not even noticeable. A spokesman for the Indian River School District said the district does not comment on pending litigation. The case has been under investigation by the Delaware State Police and no charges have yet been filed. And testimony began this week in a case against a 39-year-old man accused of using a hammer to brutally assault a Wilmington jewelry store owner in a robbery captured on videotape in 2022. Calvin Ushery is charged with 6 felony counts of robbery, assault, and other crimes tied to the incident at Solid Gold Jewelers on 9th Street here in downtown Wilmington. The attack, caught on surveillance video, was shown to the jury during opening statements Tuesday. It showed a man wearing sunglasses grab the 68-year-old store owner, hit him with a gun, knocking him to the ground. As the robber gathered items and appeared to wipe the area for footprints, he reportedly struck the owner with the hammer. Following the attack, the owner spent 4 days in the ICU, receiving treatment, and suffered from memory loss and other difficulties. After the attack, Wilmington police alerted local pawn shops, and calls came in of a man attempting to sell a large amount of jewelry. Later, an officer spotted a man matching the robber's description, trying to sell jewelry at a gas station. The Ushery was arrested at the scene and charged with assault. The trial is expected to wrap up by Friday. If convicted on all charges, Ushery faces between 8 and 107 years in prison. To health news now, where the first state has seen a subtle rise in COVID-19 cases, just as federal regulators approved updated vaccines from both Moderna and Pfizer. This week, the Food and Drug Administration, along with the CDC, okayed the shots for most Americans 6 months and older. The vaccination rates among children in the country have been low so far, just over 4% of kids 5 through 11 and 8.6% of those ages 12 to 17. The state reported 42 current COVID-19 hospitalizations as of Tuesday. While the current numbers are lower than winter peaks, they're actually up from a summer low of 11 in June. Officials hope the updated shots prevent a spike like last winter when COVID-19, the flu, and RSV stressed hospitals all around the country. The new COVID-19 vaccines target the latest variants. Federal officials say the shots should be free for most people through private insurance, Medicare, or Medicaid. A biogas plant down in Seaford, opposed by environmental groups, has gotten the go-ahead from the state. Maryland-based Bioenergy DevCo now has needed permits to build an anaerobic digestive system that uses bacteria to turn waste from poultry processing plants into gas. The biogas produced will be trucked to Chesapeake Utilities pipelines, where it will provide power for Sussex County utility customers. Nonprofit Food and Water Watch has protested the project for years, citing truck traffic and the dangers of fuel-carrying trucks. The group was joined by the ACLU in its contention that their objections were also a question of environmental justice. The community surrounding the facility is a home to a higher rate of people of color and those living in poverty than the average community members in Sussex County. The ACLU and other organizations filed a complaint with the Federal Environmental Protection Agency that nearby residents were not properly informed of the company's plans, as notices that went out were in English while most residents in the area only speak Spanish. That complaint is still under review. As for safety concerns, a company statement noted the approval of state and local fire companies to their safety protocols and response plan should there be an accident with highly flammable fuel. Others support the project because it will reduce the amount of waste polluting the watershed by 250,000 tons annually. And the Delaware Office of Highway Safety has announced a series of public forums across Delaware to work with residents to decrease road fatalities in our state. The office says 3 forums will be held, 1 in each of Delaware's 3 counties in the coming weeks. The events include discussions on planning safety initiatives, reducing crashes, and preventing deaths on the roads. The number of traffic fatalities in the state reached a new record in 2022, prompting the forums for the public to weigh in and collaborate with the Office of Highway Safety. Other topics included impaired driving, pedestrian safety, and speeding are also set to be addressed. The public forums have been scheduled for the following dates and locations that have been seen on your screen here. The Office of Highway Safety encourages neighbors to attend either in person or virtually. Further information and registration for the forums can be found at saferroadsde.com. And before we go this evening, Newcastle County celebrated a big birthday Tuesday when officials marked the 350th anniversary of the creation of current boundary lines. In 1673, Newcastle was the first county established here in the first state. The land had changed hands repeatedly between the Dutch, Swedish, and English settlers who established various colonies in modern-day Delaware. The land had been occupied by the Lenape people for thousands of years before European settlers arrived and claimed the New World. In a ceremony on the green in Old Newcastle, County Executive Matt Meyer said the day was about the future of Newcastle, not just its past. Good evening and welcome to DETV News. I'm Matt Ford. Thanks so much for being with us. Topping the news today, Delaware State Police are investigating a fatal crash down in Felton that happened Wednesday morning. The wreck happened around 7:30 a.m. at Route 12 and Sandtown Road. Troopers say a small truck driven by a 44-year-old Woodside man hit a tractor trailer that was turning in front of him. The victim's truck went under the trailer portion and the victim was pronounced dead at the scene. And this year's first human cases of West Nile virus have been discovered by the Delaware Public Health Laboratory. 3 Newcastle County men, 50 years or older, have been hospitalized due to the infection caused by the mosquito-borne illness. The Delaware Health and Social Services reported in a statement that it appears all cases were contracted locally, but that an investigation is continuing. In response, the Delaware Department of Natural Resources and Environmental Control, also known as DENREC, will increase mosquito surveillance in the vicinity of the 3 infected people's homes. West Nile virus can cause serious health problems. It is transmitted by mosquitoes, and we are right in the middle of peak period from mid-August to mid-October. Officials have offered these tips to stay safe. And a 21-year-old Delaware man, Josiah Brown, was sentenced to 7.5 years in federal prison for the carjacking of a U.S. Congresswoman's SUV in Philadelphia nearly 2 years ago. You may recall this. Representative Mary Gay Scanlon was leaving a meeting at FDR Park in South Philadelphia in December of 2021 when Brown and another person demanded her car keys. She complied, and the perpetrators drove off in her vehicle. Brown later claimed that he didn't recognize the Congresswoman and that his weapon was actually unloaded. Unbeknownst to him, the stolen SUV had a tracker leading authorities right to his Wilmington home. Brown faced federal charges of carjacking and brandishing a gun during a violent crime. Scanlon, in a letter to the judge, expressed lingering insecurity in public spaces and concerns that the incident contributed to Philadelphia's reputation as an unsafe place. Philadelphia saw a record high of over 1,300 carjackings last year alone. That's a 53% increase over 2021. The proposed decrease in Wilmington's parking violation fine, well, it appears to be stuck in neutral. Last October, Mayor Mike Przicki announced a proposal to reduce typical parking violations from $40 down to $25. Well, 11 months later, the only legislation City Council has even introduced is one from Councilwoman Maria Cabrera that would drop fines from $40 down to $30. And even that one hasn't been touched by the Finance and Economic Development Committee since it was introduced in May. During his budget address earlier this year, Mayor Przicki said that Wilmington would lose over $500,000 if the parking fines were reduced to $25, plus an additional $750,000 in reduced parking violations and booting fees if less workers continue to enter the city. In this year's budget, Wilmington anticipated $2.8 million from parking fines and another $3.8 million in red light revenues, which was a reduction of the $1.6 million, as the city has overestimated the amount of tickets the 10 new cameras have actually produced. Wilmington's red light camera fine is currently $110 and can jump another $30 if it isn't paid within 90 days. The Fines and Fees Task Force is planning to meet every 3 weeks until its recommendations are due to Wilmington City Council. And Christiana School District has found a new home for their graduation ceremonies. Superintendent Dan Shelton said beginning this school year, all 3 high schools will have their graduations on the same day at the Chase Fieldhouse. This comes months after a controversial arrest on the University of Delaware campus this summer, seeing a Newark High School graduate violently arrested less than an hour after his graduation at the university's Bob Carpenter Center. The arrest triggered a fallout between the district and the university, beginning with Christina moving to cease holding graduations on campus, alongside advocacy for further sanctions. The Christina School Board moved to cut the commencement tie in its July meeting. The 18-year-old's charges were dropped by the State Department of Justice. And the Delaware Healthy Mother and Infant Consortium's Guaranteed Basic Income Program, it's a 2-year pilot initiative, and it's providing vulnerable pregnant women with a monthly income of $1,000 via debit cards to support healthy birth outcomes and postpartum periods. Based at the Rose Hill Community Center in Newcastle, the program offers wraparound services, including a caseworker, financial coach, and mental health and primary care services. The primary goal is to support mothers in challenging circumstances and equip them with life and financial skills for independent navigation. The program, which has shown a whopping 324% return on investment, offers a shared community among mothers and has led to improved prenatal care access and reduced birth complications. Participants highlight the importance and support and resources for mothers in need. Now, with the pilot program ending in the next year, officials say they will now seek funding to continue and expand this program. Anticipation is high for next week's public opening of a new $26 million YMCA in Middletown, located a short drive from the Middletown Main Street. The 56,000 square foot facility replaces the existing YMCA on Cass Street. DETV took a tour of the state-of-the-art facility.
Our indoor-outdoor functional training space is a first of its kind for the Delaware YMCA, with a wide range of functional training equipment, including sleds and tires, outdoor turf training space. Basketball courts are lined for basketball, volleyball, and pickleball, where we will host classes and seminars. We also have 2 outdoor basketball courts and 6 outdoor pickleball courts located at the other side of our parking lot. Here at Middletown, our fitness center is over 10,000 square feet with all state-of-the-art equipment.
A new school here in Wilmington will be named after a man who served as principal for many years. The new Maurice Pritchett Senior Academy will replace Bancroft School. It's the first school built in Wilmington in more than 50 years. Pritchett, who died in April, was principal of Bancroft School from 1975 to 2005. The $84 million school will cover several blocks in the city and is expected to open for 600 students in the fall of 2024. Now, if you happen to be on the Delaware State University campus, check out the new exhibit covering the career of longtime state legislator Herman Holloway Sr. Holloway was one of the giants serving in the state legislature for 30 years. He was the first African American to serve in Legislative Hall, elected to the State House of Representatives in 1963 and the State Senate the following year. Holloway was known as a great orator who managed to pass fair housing laws during tumultuous times. Family members were on hand Wednesday to celebrate the exhibit opening.
But it looks real nice here. We're very proud of those that came to attend today, and we're proud that this legacy will stand here at Delaware State University forever and a day. We wanted to do something to cherish the memory and remind people of Senator Herman Holloway Sr.
University historian Carlos Holmes said the collection will be displayed in the campus art gallery for 2 weeks, then it gets moved to the university's archives. Well, what was said to be one of Delaware's greatest rap events has been canned. The hip-hop celebration that was slated to make history, featuring Rick Ross and many other rap legends next weekend, is canceled. The Grand Opera House announced on their social media Wednesday that they pulled the plug on the show due to circumstances beyond their control. The event was titled Masters of the Mic Hip Hop 50 Tour, a celebration of hip hop's 50th anniversary. The lineup was to feature a blend of contemporary rappers and pioneers such as Rick Ross, 2 Chainz, Fat Joe, Big Daddy Kane, and Slick Rick. A big reason the event was sunk is likely due to the ticket prices, which were initially $170 per person. The Grand offered the same tickets for $100 on Facebook last week. For more information, you can visit thegrandwilmington.org or call 1-800-37-GRAND. And before we go this evening, Friday begins National Hispanic Heritage Month, a time to celebrate the histories, cultures, and contributions of American citizens whose ancestors came from Spain, Mexico, the Caribbean, and Central and South America. The observation started as Hispanic Heritage Week in 1968 under President Lyndon Johnson and was expanded to law in 1988. Locally, the Hispanic Heritage Festival will be held Sunday, September 17th, that's this weekend, at Bellevue State Park from noon to 5 p.m. Also on the 17th is the Festival Hispano in downtown Georgetown on North Race Street from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. Well, that's going to do it for today's edition of DETV News. Be sure to like and follow us across your favorite social media platforms. And for a look at what's happening around our great state of Delaware, head to DETVCH.com. DETV News continues next week with Lauren Wilson. See you then.